Well, welcome to the Essentials of Film Directing. My name is Mariah Lichtenstern, and I'm the founder and CEO of Lightedstar Entertainment. Lightedstar Entertainment is a motion picture and multimedia development management and marketing company. Our objective is to be a leader in multicultural media and entertainment, serving a diverse community of clients and consumers by producing content that enlightens, inspires, and entertains. Part of that mandate includes engaging and empowering creative talent. So I'm really looking forward to this and future webinars, and I'm so pleased to have Peter D. Marshall here with us today. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Mariah. I'm very pleased to be here.
Awesome. So just to give you some background, Peter's experience spans several decades. He has over 35 director's credits, equally as many first AD credits in both film and television. You can find many of his credits on imdb.com, and as you can see, he's worked with A-list talent. He's experienced with film, tape, and HD formats, and he's won awards for his craft. He's also a course director at the Vancouver Film School. He's affiliated with Rain Dance Canada and conducts workshops for them in Toronto. He also teaches his own workshops in Vancouver and worldwide. So now we're going to cover a lot of ground today, but you know time flies when you're having fun, so let's transition over to what we're going to discuss. We're going to get into the 7-step film directing process, the power of montage, which deals with editing, and how to make a movie 101. We'll also go into the 3 types of director, the business and politics of film, how to work and survive in the biz, which everybody wants to know, and time permitting, we'll cover a little bit more. So moving on, I want to go ahead and hear from Peter himself. So Peter, tell us, when did you realize that you wanted to be a filmmaker, and how did you get started?
Well, a very long time ago, when I was 16 years old, it was a very boring summer day. I was raised in Regina, Saskatchewan. I'm Canadian, and I was just bored, so my father gave me his regular 8 camera and gave me a roll of film, and I put some film in it and shot a bunch of stuff, and I've been hooked ever since. And that's how it started. I went to 1970 to 73. I went to Ryerson in film school in Toronto. I wanted to be a cinematographer, and then worked in the camera department for a while, and then gradually got into production in the late 70s and 80s. Did a lot of documentaries, industrials, that kind of thing, and then got involved in the AD department in the early 80s. Was a second AD, and then became a first AD, and worked on a lot of television shows, and then sort of graduated, I guess you can call it, into feature films that were all being shot in Vancouver and around in Canada, and that's sort of how I made my career as a feature first AD. And then when I wasn't ADing on features or TV movies, I would direct television shows, and so I sort of had the balance, and that's sort of where my background came. I have sort of that split balance of production side and creative side, and which is a great, for me, it's just an excellent teaching opportunity, because I've seen both sides of the camera kind of thing.
Mhm. Mhm. So when you first got into the industry, in terms of working, did you have a mentor? How did you find your first job?
Well, I got out of film school, in, like I said, in 73, and one of the instructors actually hired me to do a production assistant on a commercial. And actually my very first job was, I had a brown paper bag. I was leaning just underneath the camera, just below the actor, who they were shooting a close-up of him, and he was like opening a certs or like a candy, and then when the director called cut, he would spit the candy into the bag I was holding. So that's how I started in this business, holding a bag so someone could spit some candy into it. But this was in Canada in the 70s, and there wasn't the drama that it is today, and so I did a lot of documentary, and Canada's known for a lot of its documentaries, and I spent about 7, 8, 9 years doing documentaries, and then gradually got into the TV drama as an AD when it was brand new here in Vancouver. Luck does have a lot to do with everything you're doing. You have to make your own luck, but that's sort of how I went. That was my guide. And then from there, the AD work got me my directing work, et cetera, et cetera. So that's sort of been very lucky.
Now that's very cool to be successful in this business over 40 years now. Is that right? It's been 40 years?
Well, I like to say 39 years because I graduated in 1973. So I use that as my benchmark, right? So next year, June, it would be 40 years. I've been making movies for a lot longer than that. But yeah, 39, 40 years is definitely, it's a long time, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, okay, with that said, we know that you have a lot of wisdom to impart, and we have a lot of ground to cover. So you've outlined 7 steps to the directing process. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I sat down one day to sort of write something out about is there a formula or a process for making movies? Of course, really there isn't. But after all the teaching I've done at the Vancouver Film School and on my own, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of students. I've been involved with, I think my last count was over 300 short films in some capacity, either in the writing stage, on set, or in the post-production stage, with all the film students that I've been involved with over the years. And so I really started to get a real handle on what was happening. And I think one of the key things is when you teach, you learn a lot. And it's certainly been happening to me. As a matter of fact, the last 3 years I've been full-time at the Vancouver Film School. I've left, and I'm just basically part-time there now. But when someone says, what have you been doing the last 3 years? I said, well, really, I went back to film school, and I went back to teach directing and to set up some courses at VFS. But at the same point, you learn so much. So I came up with this 7-step directing process because, in my opinion, most inexperienced directors or even lazy directors spend most of their time in prep trying to figure out how to shoot their film first, like get the shots, the angles, and I'm going to use 3D, and here's the stunts, and all of that, rather than figuring out what the story's about and what the characters want. And in my experience, that's a totally wrong way to go. And so I sat down and said, well, what's an order if you had an overall order to do it? And I came up with this process, which is the first one is really the study of human behavior. And we have to get into a habit of observing people go about their daily lives so you can find out what motivates people to take action. In other words, you really have to be a witness to human behavior. I mean, as directors, writers, actors, we're in the observation business. You want to find out what makes us tick, why we do things. And once you know the answer to these questions, you'll have a better idea of how the characters in your script can interact with each other. So it helps you with your writing. And it also gives you better psychological tools to help direct actors on the set. So it's really the study of human behavior, observation, that is crucial to any art form that involves, especially like us with writing and directing. The second thing is really story. I actually have to stop for a second, and really I have a mantra that 3 is usually the magic number in this business, but I'll go story, performance, and style. And those are the 3 things that we want everybody to really know, that it starts with story, performance is second, and style, which is everything else, and I'll talk about that in a second, is that third thing. So that's why I put the human behavior first. I figured it had to be something that had to go before that. So in the story, it's really you want to find out if either you write your script or you're a director that's given a script, you want to go over the story, like what's the theme about? What's the story about? What are all the scene objectives? What's your point of view as a director? And what are you trying to say? Understanding the story requires a lot of work on a director's part because you need to dig deeper into the story and its structure, and you have to analyze each individual scene to find out exactly what we just talked about, what's about, what works, and what doesn't. So story is a big, big factor. It's the number one thing that I talk about in any of my workshops. I'm always going back to the story. What's the story about? What's the theme, etc. Mm-hmm. The third thing we talk about is performance. And again, these are just overviews. These are much more in-depth. You could have a seminar on each of these topics. But, what's the subtext? What tools do I use to get a performance from an actor? What are the character objectives? Do I understand the actor's language? These are all important for a director, and one of the main responsibilities, I believe, of a director is to really work with actors on the set, is to help them achieve a realistic performance. And I believe good directors do this by listening for the truth. There's that elusive truth again, but it's listening for the truth, and those are important words. And you do this by asking, like when you see a performance, well, do I believe them? Do the words that they say make sense? Are the characters believable? Mm-hmm. And it's one of the keys to getting a realistic performance from an actor is by understanding their character objectives. And that's very important. And so remember, to find a character they're playing, actors must surrender completely to feelings and impulses. And a good director understands their vulnerability and creates a safe place for them to perform. So this is really important for the directors. You got to be on the same page as the actors, and it's about vulnerability. As a matter of fact, the number one thing actors want from directors, I believe, is trust. That's the number one thing. And without that, everything is going to be a little difficult.
That's really a significant point that you made there about the director allowing them to be vulnerable. I don't think that people who aren't actors recognize that they really are in a place of vulnerability. I hadn't really realized. I heard Sally Fields talk about this and how she's almost embarrassed to be in character in public, and it kind of gave me a greater insight into how vulnerable they can be. So that's a very interesting perspective.
Well, I think also that directors have to show their vulnerability too. You have to wear your heart on the sleeve. If you're dealing with actors in very emotional scenes, the trust factor is not just say, well, do it again, more angry, cry. That doesn't do anything for an actor. They have to be able to trust you. There's a crew of hundreds of people. They're outside, or they're in a car, or they're just on a set, and for them to spill their guts, sort of, or what I like to call stand naked figuratively and sometimes literally in front of a lot of people, it is showing their vulnerability, and that's about truth. And that's, from a whole acting perspective, that's what actors need to do. They need to be in the moment. In order to do that, they have to listen to each other. In order to do that, they have to be vulnerable, and they have to trust the director and the assistant director to keep the set quiet and calm and all of that. So it is a huge, huge thing, Mariah. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a major part of our job. That's what I'm saying, is the performance issue is big, very big. Mm-hmm. The fourth part of this process is what I call the principles of montage. And that's basically understanding editing. And it's by carefully using the juxtaposition of images to tell a story, we as filmmakers can produce certain emotions from the audience by manipulating an actor's performance. And we'll talk about that just in a little more detail about a Russian experiment on that. And as a film director, it's very important that we understand montage, because it will help to, say, help us give more visual scripts. It'll help decide where for your camera placement, your shots, etc. It'll help you block your scenes with actors, and it'll help get more layered performances from your actors as well. So understanding editing, understanding montage, and like I said, we'll talk about this in a little while in more detail, is incredibly important for a director. The fifth point I have here is the psychology of the camera. And what I mean by the psychology of the camera is the visual meanings of shots and angles. Mm-hmm. And there's certain, why is there a high angle or a low angle, or what does a zoom lens do versus a wide angle lens? I mean, in photography, or anybody that takes cine understands that the camera is basically the writing utensil of the director. It's our tool to tell the story with, and there's certain things we need to understand. It's just not about placing the camera in a position, recording events. We also have to understand that audiences will assume that every shot or every word of dialogue in a film is there for a reason. It's there to further the central idea, the story points. So each shot should contribute to the story that we're trying to convey in a certain way, and this is the psychology of it. And in other words, where you put the camera can either enhance or detract an audience's understanding of what the scene is really about and what the characters are feeling. And a lot of this is very subjective, subtext feelings, right? It's the subtle things that we're used to. So those things are important. Very much like an example where you have when the judge is talking to the defendant, you're always shooting down at the defendant and up in the judge, because those are power and power positions, right?
That's really interesting because, I think you're right. We take so much of it for granted because it's so deeply embedded in our understanding, in our storytelling and our psychology that, when we're watching an excellent film, we just take it for granted. But sometimes when I'm watching maybe a student film or I'm at a festival and there's these creative angles, it kind of takes me outside of the movie and it makes you more conscious of how much the angles can convey. So that's really interesting too.
Yeah, it can have both sides. It can go, hey, look at me, look how we had a Steadicam, look what we're doing, or I'm going handheld, making everybody sick. Is it warranted, or is it just for the technology? And again, to add what you're saying, a lot of it is in our psyche and our mythology from cave paintings and how things have been presented, and everything starts from theater 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, and so it's really important. It is basically in our psyche, and the psychology of that is very, very true.
Wow. Okay.
It's very detailed, a lot of elaboration, and it's just things to think about, for people, that it's just not picking up a camera or writing a bunch of lines on a piece of paper. We're telling a story. And story is about mythology. It's not the A story, it's the B story, it's the subtext. It's the theme. It's like, we talk about Titanic. I always love to use Titanic as a good example. What's the movie Titanic about? And people say, well, it's about, it's a sinking ship. And I go, well, it's not a movie about a sinking ship. That's a documentary. What it is you can call it many things, but you could say that Titanic is a love story set on a sinking ship, or people said it's Romeo and Juliet on a sinking ship. And the reason we're interested in watching the film is not to see the ship hit the iceberg. It's to watch the love story. It's about characters, it's about people. And or Apollo 13 is always interesting. Like I said, I just did a workshop in Toronto, and we brought all these things up. And Apollo 13 by Ron Howard is a brilliant film, in my estimation, all based on a true story, and we know the ending. Like, we know these guys all survived, right? And so it went up, it had a problem. I remember watching it, whenever that was in the 80s, and live, and the whole world held its breath, and we didn't know what was going to happen. And so what happens is that's a good movie to understand, is that we're watching what the characters are going through. We know what they're going to come out of it. How they went out of it is what we're interested in. It's the journey. And that's filmmaking. That's telling stories. Yeah. So, again, so moving on, number 6, I talk about basic blocking and staging techniques. Blocking is essentially the relationship of the camera to the actors. This is sometimes the hardest thing for any director to do, is blocking actors, moving them around on the set. It's part of the hardest parts of our job, one of the more essential parts of our job. But like anything else, it just takes practice, and the more times they do it, the more comfortable you will become. And I think you want to think of blocking. In theater, they call it staging. But I look at blocking like the choreography of a dance or ballet. All the elements on the set are all moving in perfect harmony to certain actors, vehicles, crew, equipment. All of that kind of stuff moves in harmony. But ultimately, it all serves the story. And I think that, if anybody wants to write anything down, that's a good 3 words: serve the story. Everything we do in a film has to serve the story, even all the actors, performances, costumes, shots, everything. And the blocking of which is about where are the actors moving on the set, has to serve the story and serve the characters and their objectives in all the scenes. And that's really key there. So blocking is a big one. And finally, number 7 is style, or technical. It's really everything else it takes to make a movie. 3D animation, visual effects, locations, editing, sound, costume stunts, cinematography, whatever it is, equipment. That's all. I kind of lumped it into style and technical. And I really, really in my heart believe this to be true, is that without understanding the first 6 steps of this process, I believe you're setting yourself up as a filmmaker, what I call for filmmaker mediocrity, you know, and it's really writing unimaginative scripts with unbelievable characters that lead to predictable movies. And I think we see that over and over again. So I hope people take this to heart and really look at these 7 steps. Obviously there's more, and these have to be very elaborated on, but I think they get the idea. And that it's like, why are we watching the movie? And if you start with the story and you go back into mythology, and I know we're not going to talk about Joseph Campbell, at least in this one, but his hero's journey, and take writing classes, this is the most important thing you can do as a director, is essentially understand your story first. That's the main thing you can do, and break it all down. And we're just going to touch on that in these webinars, and then understand the actor and their performance and objectives and their language. And then that third thing, the style. You have, you know, DPs and camera operators and ADs and script supervisors. They can help you out by getting the technical stuff, because new directors or inexperienced directors, there's just so much to learn. And so I've sort of made a mandate in my life right now is to say, you know what, you can leave the third thing. Yes, you need to know about it. Of course you need to know about it. It's going to make the movie better. But there are people that can help you out with that. But you know what? When it's breaking down a script or working with actors, nobody else does that. That's only you as the director. So story, performance, and style. And the director's main job is to understand the story and all its nuances, and work with the performers to get believable performances. Those are the top 2 things you're doing. Everything else, like I said, and I'm repeating, and I love to repeat myself, you know, is you can have somebody else help you out do that. Editors can put the film together for you. So as young directors or new directors, don't get caught up on all the technical stuff. You have to hire the right people to help you out with that. That's key. But again, I'll say one more time, you know, work on the story and go for performance.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I hope that, you know, people watching are taking note of this, because, you know, when you're, as a producer, when you are trying to get a project made, people want to know who's in it and who's directing it. Like, if you have a director attached, that is a critical step to getting talent attached, and they know that these things that only the director can do are what makes a great film. So that is an excellent point. Other people can do the technical stuff, but the art of the director is very unique. So that's excellent. Okay.
Right, and again, filmmaking is like, you need to understand the technical to be an all-around filmmaker. The technical is a huge part of your business. Understanding costumes, color, editing, what different things do, editing style, all of that is part of your job. There's an art and a craft to this business, and you need to absolutely know that, and that's what you spend your life doing. You know, I've always liked to say that this is not a job, this is not a career, it's a lifestyle. And that you spend your life with your friends and family in this business, and you learn all the time. You're constantly learning all the time, and that's really, really important.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I know that this is something that's new to me. I went to film school, but I was in a producer's program, which is more about film business, and we really only scratched the surface of production. So, you know, actually, even in my film studies courses as an undergrad, I never heard of this next principle, the Kuleshov effect. Can you explain that?
I like to put this in because almost nobody, or is that bad English? Almost, yeah, has never heard of this. The Russians have been, you know, I think we've all, if you've been to film school at all, you've heard of Eisenstein and the Battleship Potemkin and all the montage that sort of the Russians came up with, the editing styles in the early 1900s. But the Kuleshov effect is really something that emphasizes the point I make about the juxtaposition of images to enhance performance. And film editing is really the only art form that's unique to cinema. If you look at all the other arts attached that have the similar, a lot of similar things like film, you talk about writing, theater, photography, dance, etc. There's performance and writing. Film is the only one that you can you take these images and you can manipulate them to create things. So what Kuleshov did in 1918, he wanted to demonstrate that this juxtaposition of images can manipulate performances. Now again, let's always know the product of the time. Cinema was maybe only 25 years old at that point, right, in 1918, and so it's all based, at that time in the States and Europe and in Russia, it was just basically filming stage plays, and theater actors were doing, we all see the silent movies. So obviously it wasn't as great as it was today, but the concept works. And what he did is to prove a point, is that he basically took a neutral shot of a famous Russian stage actor. And what I mean by a neutral shot is he looked sort of, it was like a medium shot, waist up, and the actor was looking just off camera in what we call a neutral expression. He wasn't happy, he wasn't sad, he's a neutral expression. And what Kuleshov did, and again, this is I'm paraphrasing everything here, but he cut together the expression of the actor with 3 other shots, and one was a plate of soup, another one was a girl playing ball, and another one was an old woman in a coffin. And the point to be made here is that the actor, when he cut back to the actor, it was the same shot. It was identical and expressionless. Just every time he cut back to them, he was just neutral. So they showed this in the cinemas to audiences, and what happened was basically the audiences totally believed the expression on the actor's face was different each time he appeared, depending on whether he was looking at the plate of soup or the little girl or the old woman. And they were astounded how they felt how hungry he was when he looked at the plate of soup, and how sad he was when he looked at the woman, how much grief he expressed, and how happy he was when he looked at the girl playing ball. And yet it was the editing that created the emotion of the actor, and telling the audience, pointing the audience, this is what we want you to do, or this is how we want you to feel. And this is a lot of power we have. So he basically proved that through the principles of montage, we can produce certain emotions from the audience: laughing, fear, crying, shock. I mean, just think of all the movies you see, the genre movies like horror films and all that kind of stuff. We expect certain things, and handheld cameras are moving behind people. We set up people in emotions. This goes back to the psychology of the camera I was telling you about. So it was a very interesting experiment about, and I like to use the word manipulate as not a negative thing, but it's the power of editing to manipulate audience emotions.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard before of directors negotiating for final cut because of how influential the editing process can be in the ultimate picture.
Well, final cut is ultimately that's whoever the final cut, for those who don't know, is really how studios and producers and TVs networks control the money that they've spent, and they have the final cut. In other words, a director can come in and direct a movie and do their director's cut, and then you'll always you can read about this or hear about this on the blogs, that then the studio or whoever will recut the picture, and then because they'll do it their way. This is like television at its finest, because in television it's the producers run the show. As a TV director myself, I go in and do it. I'll do a director's cut, and then 6 months later I'll see, maybe a slightly different version on TV, because they can do whatever they want with it. Mm-hmm. So final cut, there's only a few people in this world, few directors that would be able to say that they would have final cut, because that's ultimately the total control. So you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I had a student film that I directed at USC, and I had to shorten it for I think some kind of exhibition, And I went in, and it's amazing. Now, I didn't really think about it consciously then, because I think I was in the right brain in the artist mode. But I went down and I cut out a lot of fluff, and I actually used some. There's a part where I zoom in on the actor, and he's having flashbacks to his mother passing away. But originally, in the original version that somebody else edited, that scene, he wasn't having flashbacks at all. And so now I can see that it was this effect that you just explained for us that I was using, and I didn't even know how to describe it. And it really did change. It changed not only the tone of the scene, but how the whole short film was perceived. So this is really enlightening for me.
Well, it is, and I think that it's that whole, like I said, the montage is the key element. It's manipulation of images to tell a story. Like I have a story, like here's my version of making a movie. I like to simplify or demystify things. That's part of my mandate now. And so this is making a movie 101. So you have a new digital underwater camera, okay, and you go out off the coast to where you are, Sacramento, or the California coast, and you have a nephew or a boy, a friend's son who's about 12 or 13, and you film him playing in the water in the ocean, and you see him splashing on the top and laughing and diving under the water. You take your underwater camera and you go underneath and you see his legs kicking and you're moving towards him. And then you come back, and the next day you show it to all the relatives, and they're all happy to see little Jimmy splashing in the water and playing and having a lot of fun, right? Then you go out to South Africa, I think near Durban, where they have the great white sharks. And you go film the great white, and in a cage, of course. And you see the fin on the top, you see the jaws coming at you, you see the shark go, and then you come back the next week and you show it to all your relatives, and they just look at it's like a National Geographic now. It's like a documentary where you see the shark moving, the power of this incredible beast. And then you sort of, I think everybody knows where I'm going now on this one. I think then you go to your editing room, or nowadays it's a computer, and you kind of rub your hands together, and you put those two pieces of film together, and what do you have? You could
gives me an anxiety attack.
You have an anxiety attack. You can create Jaws. You can create the shark attacks the kid. You can create the kid attacks the shark and knocks the shark away. You can have a comedy. You can have a drama. Yeah. You can increase suspense. You can do whatever you want, and it's basically taking. And this takes it further, because I call this the shark and the boy. It's like it's two pieces of film that have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Nothing. Right? Mm-hmm. And you can make drama. You can make, because drama is conflict, right? You can make some kind of drama in that. And like I said, it can be comedy too. So and you add some music to it, and all of that, and it's just like that's the power we have as filmmakers. It's totally unbelievable what we can do.
Yeah, because everything that you've just said actually brought those images into my mind. You stating what when you have the boy's legs kicking, and then I'm seeing the shark swimming in the fin, and then I'm hearing like some different music. And when you said comedy, I heard a different type of music in my head. So yeah. I can totally see that. And that's a really great transition into how to make a movie 101 and making a story compelling with these tools. So let's talk more about that.
Sure. I think that this is an expression that I came up with because I've asked a lot in the workshops. Well, what's the definition of making a film? Or what's and I get a lot of answers back, and and again having spent a lot of time teaching and getting answers and trying to figure things out, so I came up with, and again, this is just one definition, of course, it's not the only one, but I think that making a good movie, and the key word is good there, or great movie if you want, it's the art of visually telling a compelling story with believable characters that make us feel something. And I think if we break that down, it's an art form, and we're visually telling a story, because otherwise it's a poem or a novel, right? So we're visually telling, and it has to be compelling. It's not just a story; it's compelling. It has to draw us in. Why are we interested in this movie? We want to be drawn into this, so it has to be compelling. Mm-hmm. And we need believable characters, not just like cardboard cutouts that you turn TV on all the time, and you just know what's going to happen all the time. and that make us feel something, because ultimately that's what it's about, isn't it? And feeling something is not just crying. It's like a wow, or you can be laughing, or horror, or scared, or whatever. That's why we go to roller coasters, to be scared for 2.5 minutes, So it's like all of those things are important, and because filmmaking is about storytelling, all of the elements must work together to support the story, and it's a collaborative art form, which is one of the great things about making movies, and one of the really down things about making movies is that you have to do it with other people. And so it's a collaborative art, and the process where the film gets written and edited many times before you're finished with it. We always say that the film is written 3 times, right? It's when it's written in the script form, when you shoot it, it's rewritten, and then when you edit it, it's rewritten again, because, it's just changing. There's always this process of discovery. It's molding clay. It's not something that making a film is like anything else. It's like art, and it is an art form, and that you have to mold it and take your blinders off. Like you walk in with an idea. This is the story. I want everybody to say these lines. I know exactly what line they want to get up. That's all BS. Excuse my French. Because all emotions have a different way of being expressed. Anger has a million ways of being expressed if you give it to a million different people. So understanding human behavior is where I related back to that first element, that first part of the process is important. So you want to be able to, it's like let the muse hit you, affect you. And if you don't like the collaborative effort, then I have a great idea for you. If you still want to be creative, I'll give you a pen and a paper, and you go sit on a park bench and be a poet. Because at that point, and I'm serious, because you can create and no one can bother you. You can blog.
Sometimes nobody understands what you've written.
Yeah, but sometimes there's films I don't understand either, so it really doesn't matter. Or paintings, that's neither here nor there, I believe, because it's about you made it. It's up to other people to whether they get it or not, right? And which actually takes us into like the universal language of film. I mean, I believe that no matter where you live in the world, and this is obviously proven, that everyone has their own stories to tell. And if you have universal themes, that relate to something that we know about, love, hate, war, whatever those universal themes are, I believe that if you follow this process and not just make a movie for style or for sake of all the visual elements, but if you really have a visually compelling story with believable characters, then you can tell the story in your own language, and subtitle it, whatever it is, and people will watch it because they're drawn into the story. They're drawn into the mythology that's been in our cell system for eons. So that's really important to me.
That's really interesting. As a student myself, when I did direct the student film, we were not allowed to have any dialogue. I mean, we had Foley to add in sound effects, but we could have no dialogue. And I think that's what they really wanted us to hone, is that universal language that you're referring to.
Well, exactly. And we're talking a visual medium, and that you can, you can tell major stories with no dialogue. I mean, look at the silent movie days. The dialogue is there to drive move the story forward. It's always interesting. When I went to Toronto, I just was there last weekend teaching a workshop, or a weekend before, and I fly a lot, but I'll never plug in a headset to watch a movie on a plane. If I do watch a movie, I'll watch it silent, and most of the time I've never seen the film, and it's just very interesting. It's a very good experiment for people to do. Next time you're flying, for 3 or 4 hours and they show movies, then watch a movie and just watch it silent, especially one you haven't seen before, and then try to figure it out. And it's interesting that you get these major movies, and so you're flying and they're having a conversation, you close your eyes, you look around, and they're still having a conversation, and then you close your eyes again, and they're still having a conversation. You say, what are they talking about for 5 minutes? Well, it's like, wow, this is boring. And you can really start telling, you can talk, you understand about the visual medium, you can see more about the visual style, the cutting, when you watch these things silent. It's a really good practice, good thing to do. You don't have to do it. You can do it anywhere in front of on your computer or a DVD at home, of course. But plane rides are always good to do that.
Yeah, that goes to the point of show, don't tell. So let's move forward and talk about what is your definition of a director?
Well, there's not really any one definition. I think probably all the film directing books will have a definition into it. So I'm just going to go over a few things. And obviously, the director is a storyteller. That's number one. And you're the creative force behind the camera, the vision. And again, I'm talking about movies, independent movies here. I'm not talking about television. We'll get into that a little later, the difference between television and film. The director creates a visual style, obviously, for the film. When you think of Ridley Scott or Tim Burton, you know, when we think of those filmmakers, we see very distinct styles. And the director is ultimately responsible for getting performances from the actors. And I also believe that the director empowers people. Cast and crew is one of your biggest jobs. And, you know, directing, it's one of the most solitary experiences you may ever have. I mean, you're in a large group of people, but you're still all by yourself because there's only one of you. And it's not just about interpreting the screenplay and handling actors. You have to keep in mind the schedule and complete a day's work on time. And you have an AD there always looking at their watch, or production managers and producers pacing behind you. It's a huge money machine, and it's a huge, you know, every hour there could be literally tens of thousands of dollars being spent every hour. And so if you start wasting time, these are things you have to be physically responsible. So as a director, you have to really understand that as well. It's not just a creative, because you wouldn't last very long as a film director or TV director if you always were overtime, you didn't care or figure out how to save time. You wouldn't. That would be it. You'd be done.
Right. Time is money.
Time is money. Absolutely.
Yeah. You hear about these like rogue directors that are, you know, they say, you know, you got to get it in on schedule and on budget. And yeah, I've heard of, you know, directors' careers being ruined. I won't name names, but I think you know that have just gone incredibly over budget. Of course, there's exceptions to that, and we could name some of those too. You mentioned Titanic, and of course, you know, that led to Avatar, but generally speaking, most directors can't afford that, especially starting out. So
well,
tell us. Oh, go ahead.
But I'll just add to that. I mean, I think also that you know, when we have these kind of conversations, and what I teach and everything is, you know, I've worked on a lot of big Hollywood films, and there's a process that, you know, in any kind of Hollywood movie or Canadian film that I work on, there's a process that is very, like I said, it's not simple, but it's you know, it's A, B, C. Making movies is actually not that difficult. We tend to make it difficult. But for the independent filmmaker, for the filmmaker around the world who's not going to do a quote-unquote $100 million, you know, 3D extravaganza, that's 99.99% of all your listeners and all my listeners. And those are the people that we gravitate to. And it's like that's why we just talk about story, performance, and style. And as long as you keep knowing that, you'll be fine. And understand the physical, the financial restraints you have and work, and that's experience. And you need experience. That's why, you know, when you hire, you know, a good DP and a good AD, those are a couple of the people you really want to have on your crew. So that's all part of the process. You know, especially today as a director, you know, there's a lot to be expected of you. You know, when you begin pre-production, when you step on the set, when you're in the editing room, et cetera, et cetera. And I believe that, you know, in order to do this successfully, you ask me, like, what does a director do? Well, I believe you have to have complete confidence in yourself and faith in your talent and ability, and that's a hard one. You know, it's like you're just learning yourself, and you have to have this confidence in yourself. You have to keep saying, I'm going to learn. I don't know everything. It's like riding a bike the first time. I'm going to fall off. I got to get back on. Hopefully everybody will be still with me. Mm-hmm. Listen to everybody. You know, do your own thing. You know, I find that the best collaboration is all of a sudden you hear a great directing comment from a dolly grip over in the corner, and you use it and say, hey, I got this idea from him. This is awesome, because you want that collaboration. I said a little while ago, I said directors also empower people. You know, empower your cast and crew. I mean, ultimately, if the film is good, you get the credit, and you really want people to be part of it and make suggestions, because it's a creative environment. You take 10 people, give them the same script, 10 different movies. It'll never be the same, and nor should it, because if it is, there's a big problem. I think you have to have the courage and tenacity to stick it out no matter what. I've been in this business for over 40 years, and there are some mornings when the alarm goes off, I just don't want to do this anymore. But you get up, you go to work, you're a professional, and then some days are just like you just can't wait to go to work. So you're going to have a lot of ups and down days. It's life. There's no question about that. But there's a tenacity, there's a stick-to-itness that you have to have. There's something that says in a drive that, it's like, I'm going to make this, I'm going to do this. Nobody knows who I am right now, but give me 5, 10 years. That's what I said earlier. I said, folks, this is a lifestyle. Don't expect in 2 years from now all these things are going to happen. Maybe it happens. Most likely it won't. It takes a long time for you to be noticed. These overnight sensations probably spent 20 years getting to become an overnight sensation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important. And also about focus. Focus on what's possible, not what's, rather than what's not possible. We all know what's not possible. I'll never be able to get this, or I don't have the money to do this, or I wanted 20 days and they only gave me 15 days. Whatever, right? Focus on what's possible, and that's experience. Experience will help you. You can't read it from books. You can't get all this experience from listening to webinars like this. These are guides. These will help you on the way. You'll pick up certain gems and little things that will help you, but you've got to stand out there yourself and call action, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only way you can do it. Or write the script, or light a set, or whatever it is you're doing in the film business. This is only one small part of it. It's really the work you do on your own that is going to push you ahead. It's not just sitting in classrooms. It's not listening to everything. That's all part of it. You have to do. Filmmaking is doing. I think I've turned the word Nike into a verb. Just do a Nike, okay? Just do it. That's the thing. Never stop searching for your style and expression. It took me years to figure out even if I had a style as a director. And then I figured it out, and then every show was different. So I remember having interviews with TV producers and say, okay, well, what's your style? We see some style on here. I'd say, well, what's your show? What kind of show is it? I mean, is it a comedy? Is it horror? Is this and that? Because my style will reflect the genre, not just walking in and say, I do quick cuts. I do quick edits for everything. That's my style. Well, that may not fit their show. So be very careful when people ask you about what's your style. All right.
That's a good point for shaping your career.
Absolutely. And stay true to yourself. I like this. I found these expressions somewhere. These aren't mine. It'll guide you to the right people and the right choices. Mm-hmm. And it is true. It's just be good, be real, be transparent. Because you know what? If you walk onto a set within 5 minutes, people know you don't know what you're talking about, or that you're new. The way you stand, the voice, we know. You can't BS us. It just is. So you want to be transparent really early. Mm-hmm. These egos and all of that just get in the way, and I've seen so much of that in my years. It's like stories for days on that.
Yeah, and it's the horror stories that have the most legs.
Of course, it's like when you go buy your bread at the store, it's the magazines that are sold right there. It's most of the actors involved, but yeah, it's the horror stories. Yeah,
that's true. The salaciousness sells. Well, considering that your career spanned across 40 years and you've been able to navigate these sometimes murky waters of authenticity and style, tell us, about, more of these practical tips of how you work and survive in this biz.
Well, I think also there's the business and politics of film, right? That's a big question. And I think that what I like to look at is really how do you survive in this business, right? And how do you get people to notice your talents? How to become a writer, director, producer, et cetera, et cetera? Well, how do I become successful? And I don't really have the answers for all these because no one has the right answer or special secret. But I'll tell you, I heard a quote a long time ago from Frank Capra. It's kind of, I think I have it. Well, I don't, but tattooed on my arm. And there are no rules in filmmaking, only sins. And the cardinal sin is dullness. And I think that is just one of the best expressions. I heard that, and it enabled me to go to work some days. You know what? There's no rules here. There's only sins. And and the cardinal sin is dullness. In other words, 10 directors, 10 scripts, same script, 10 different movies. Just don't make them boring. I think that ultimately is what he was saying. And so remember that there are no rules, and I keep going on that. Because I can say something that I firmly believe in, and someone else can prove something completely different. And I go, yeah, that's pretty cool, because it's art, it's creative. You choose the best. When we're talking in the realm of artistic expression and writing and performance and overall concept, say what a movie's theme is, we get into this whole world of is it is it right or not right? It's all subjective. So Mariah, if you and I go to the same movie and you like it and I don't, who's right? We both are, because it's subjective, right? And I think that's really the key. So I think that what I look at is some factors that I think can maybe help people along the way as part of my job as well, to say, well, what can we do to help out? So here's some of the things that I've written down that I think can help people to work and survive in the business to a certain extent. I have more of these, but I think the first one is obviously experience. And I think that that's really critical. I mean, it's also very obvious, right? Make films, film school. The 3 magic words, by the way, are work for free. I think probably almost everybody knows that. And it's that number 3 again, but it is. I mean, work for free, help out as a PA or anything. There's a certain energy on a film set that you have to be on film sets to get this. The way people talk, the way the energy is, and you have to be on more than one. You have to be in more than 10. You have to be on a lot of different sets with a lot of different people to pick up concepts and ideas of things that are going on. So, and it's fairly simple now for people to make any kind of film. I mean, with your phone and on your computer and editing, just getting some music together. I mean, you can, in YouTube, I mean, bang, there you go. So experience, nothing makes up for experience, all right? Luck, being at the right place at the right time. I mean, you have to make your own luck too. But sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring is not really the right to do that. You got to get out and network and meet people, and connections. It's who you know. This is really a who you know business. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's almost who you know is more than what you know, at least initially. And all these things I talk about, I've seen myself firsthand over 40 years, just on sets and all kinds of different movies and sets and TV and music videos and industrial movie, anything. I've just done so much different kind of material. And these things, I believe, are so true. Determination, again, I alluded to that a little earlier. You have to believe in yourself. You can't be an idiot about it and just and browbeat and be an egomaniac. That's a whole different kind of concept. But you have to believe in yourself and not let anybody else, take you away from that. But here's the one caveat. Not everybody's suited to be in this business. Yeah. And maybe you're not. Sometimes one of the most important things to happen, like their students at film school or wherever, or all of a sudden they'll quit and they'll leave the business. And I say, that's the best thing that's ever happened to you, because why waste your life beating your head against the wall for the next 5 years when you're not happy and you're not going to do it? So really look at yourself in the mirror and really be honest with yourself, because that's the only place that you're real. Go home, close the door, turn on the light, look in the mirror and go, that's me. Who's me now? I've shown about 14 other me's out there, all these other people. But who are you? And do I believe in myself? And is this the right business for me? Mm-hmm. I've had so many people when you're teaching hundreds and hundreds of students over the years, and they're ranging age from 19 to 50. But a lot of the main age is like 19 to 25, and a lot of their parents don't want them to get into the business. They want them to get degrees and become other things, get a real job. And I remember I had that with my parents, and when I wanted to go to film school, and they sat me down in the living room and said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go to film school. And he said, okay, but they said, we would like you to get a sort of a degree first, 3 years, Bachelor of Arts or whatever it was, a degree. And I sort of sat there and I go, no, I don't really want to do that. And they go, okay. And then they supported me. But we're parents. I have 2 kids, as well. And you want the best for them. And so when parents do say to you, or your wives or your husbands, I mean, it's all the same thing now. Why do you want to do this? Why are you trying to, you had a great job doing this in a business and now you're getting into the film business? What are you, crazy? Well, the answer to that is obviously yes.
Yeah, I often say you have to be crazy to go into this business. You
do have to be. And but there's a draw there. And that's why we talk about this passion. Mariah, this passion. And you and I have spent actually a lot of time this last week on Skype talking back and forth, and we certainly have found each other. We never met each other, but we certainly have our personalities down, I think, now. And that's part of this process. And what this business does, it draws people together. Our relationship is hopefully will grow out of this too. And I heard your 2-year-old daughter yesterday on Skype. It was like, it's great. I like this too, and creativity is important. We're all born with a special gift. What's yours? I started off, when I went to film school, I wanted to be a cinematographer. I fell in love with the cinema, the lighting, the camera, the lenses. I mean, I bought the 5 C's of cinematography in 1969. I mean, it's still available today, I fell in love with it. I went through film school to be a shooter. And the reason I wanted to be a shooter is I didn't have anything to say. I remember that specifically. Well, why don't you be a director? I don't want to be a director or writer. I have nothing to say. And I was 19, 20, 21. I was young. And it was like, at that point, I didn't have anything to say. But after 6 years, I grew up as well. And I then started to change. I started to have a point of view. I started to believe in things. And that's when I started this change into production. I went into writing and directing. After that, I left the camera side, forever. But it was a place for me to learn the craft, and that's important for everybody. Whether you're a director, an AD, or a producer, you know what? Do everything, because ultimately you want to know. If you're a producer, you got to sign checks, and for all these people, it would be nice to know what they do. As an AD, you have to understand everybody's job anyways, so it's all about time. As a director, you need to understand it all, because you're giving these instructions that you want this. Is it possible? Is it feasible? The more you know, it's good business. You don't have to physically be able to push the dolly, but you have to talk to the dolly grips, understand what they do, watch the grips, the gaffers, everybody. It's a collaborative effort. This is not just you as a dictator. It doesn't work that way.
Right, yeah.
And so that special gift is important. What is your special gift? Is it management? I feel that my special gift, we always have a few special gifts, but I call myself an actor's director. It's performance. I've always been able to get performances from actors. I always loved it. As a first AD for a very long time, it's one of the top political positions in any kind of movie, because you're sort of the hub of a wheel. And it's like the politics is just unbelievable in these positions. And you have to understand that this is the film business is a business of large personalities. And as you expand up into larger films or into television or networks or that, you're going to get involved with larger personalities as you keep going up, and you have to be able to deal with this. I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm 6'2", but I've had ADs that are 5'2", and everybody's scared of them. So it's got nothing, and they speak with a low voice. It's about your credibility and everything else, of course, but understand that. Okay. The other thing is business. You have to learn how to run a business. You have to understand business and marketing. Social media, social networking. I'm telling everybody right now, build your audience now. Get on Twitter, Facebook. Build your audience, not just for a film you're doing, but for who you are. Because it's all about credibility now. 5 people walk in a room and they have a resume, or they're all out of film school, or they all have the same experience. Who are we going to pick? Right? Maybe the person that all of a sudden is all over the internet. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the person because they're from your hometown. I've hired people because they walked in and they were in my alma mater, Ryerson. Oh, okay. Everything else was equal, right? Not just because of that. And those are the things you never know. So business and marketing, just understand that. It's all there on Uncle Google for you to learn about.
Yeah, that's a really good point, too, because you talked earlier about, like, us getting to know each other and how this business is, it's it's about relationships. People want to work with people they know, and when you're out there marketing yourself, you're giving people, excuse me, an opportunity to know you a little bit better and a little bit faster, and that's kind of the world that we're in now. So that's really interesting that you make that point too.
Yeah, it is about relationships, and you've made an absolutely fabulous point here. It is about relationships. Because as you go through the film business, it's the relationships that will get you work. It's relationships that will lose you work. Mm-hmm. It's all the same. There's two sides of the coin. And it's who you know, and it's relationships. And somebody knows somebody else who knows somebody. There's a term for it called viral, right? And I have a lot of expressions that I'll share with people, but one of them is, in the film business, good news, bad news takes a day to travel. Good news takes about 5 years. So if you screw up, everyone in the industry is going to know about it within 1 day, right? In the city you're in. But if you're doing a good job and you're just moving ahead and doing a good job, it could be 5-10 years before people really recognize that. That's just the way it is.
If you have a great PR firm, it might be hard to get it out there.
Well, yeah, you got to have a lot of money to do that too. But exactly,
right, yeah.
But relatively speaking, it's the bad news is what we watch all the time, and it's the good news that we don't see a lot of. And there's so many people that are just doing great work. So you want to be one of those people, because you're going to get recognized. Unless you're independently wealthy and you can just do all your own things and don't have to worry about anybody or distribution or anything, then fine, go to town. But like I said earlier, if you're just making your own films and never going to anybody else's film set, you're missing a whole side of life, a whole side of the film business. Mm-hmm. You're not learning anything new. Politics, we talk about. It's the unspoken rules of the film world. We'll talk about that hopefully shortly. Passion, if you don't have this, give up. It's passion, really. I really honestly believe that passion is the driving force for this film, for this business, or any creative art form, or sports, whatever it is. Sports is one of those, because sports is part of our entertainment industry as well. Sports, music, etc., film, photography, etc. And that's very high drama, because it's win-lose right there in front of us on Sundays or whatever it is. And you just can't give up. You always hear about the sports people that just don't give up, and then they get their shot at it, and they come. We make movies about these people, right? Mm-hmm. So passion, just have that inside. But remember, I always, with the caveat, I said, look in the mirror. Is this where you want to do? Give it 5 years. Give it some time. And of course, the last thing I alluded to already is win a lottery, have a rich relative. That'll certainly help.
Amen.
Amen. Yes. But ultimately, what does this have to do with directing or filmmaking? Well, it has to do with everything, because to be successful, you need an understanding of the politics of this business. You need to understand who the power players are, and then how to deal with them. That's two different things there. And you need to know about everybody else's job. Like I said, you don't have to have done them before, but you should know about them, why they're important. It's at one point we sat around in a group, and someone said, okay, what's the one position on a film set that if the person doesn't know what they're doing, the whole thing will fall apart? So we all threw all these names out, and we came out with the first assistant cameraman, in other words, the focus puller. Because if it's out of focus, you literally have no movie.
Right.
If it's bad directing, bad ADing, bad acting, the boom is in the shot, the lighting sucks, the story's the worst, the performers can't act, it doesn't matter. You have a movie. But if it's out of focus, you have we call, when we shot with film, we just have leader. We have nothing.
Wow.
So the focus puller became the number one person on a set, that it has to be in focus, because everything else, and we've all seen this, you put it together and you show it. So it's just interesting when those things happen, right?
Yeah, I've never heard that before, but that makes perfect sense.
It does make perfect sense. It's pretty scary, So
yeah.
One person, I think some of the other things too to help work and survive, and I call it without giving or getting ulcers, is really listen to people who know more than you do, and that's the crew. Don't be afraid. Be transparent. They're going to know if you're a young director or producer or writer or whatever you're doing, a DP, you're coming in hire the right people, or feed them the best donuts, whatever you're trying to do if you have no money, but get the best people around you. Don't be afraid of that. Always ask questions. Questions are important, because we will never in our lives, no matter who you are, have all the answers. As a director, you have a lot of power. Don't abuse it. Mm-hmm. I just firmly believe in that. I'm God. Do what I say. And I think we talk about respect. I mean, everybody as a human being deserves respect. Period. End of discussion. Over. And if you constantly demand respect, you could lose that, and we see that all the time. That's kind of a power over situation. And I always like to look at the. I'm not the first, obviously, to use the military analogy for filmmaking. Using the military analogy for films is a very good idea. I mean, we kind of have all our own equipment. We move in, we take over someplace, we do all this stuff, and then we just pack up and move out. I mean, we move on our own. We have our own food, we have our own washrooms, we have everything, transportation. We're like a military. We move in. These are military maneuvers. But also, like the military, there's a rank, producers, directors at the top, and everybody else down respective. And in the military, you respect the rank, but you don't have to respect the person. And I think that's really important. So if you go do a movie, and the last two movies you've ran into directors of photography that are just terrible human beings, then the third person you work with, don't color him with the same brush, right? Mm-hmm. You can respect the rank as the director of photography or director or whatever, AD, whatever it is, but it's the person you have the problem with, not the position. Mm-hmm. And I think that people say, well, ADs, having been in myself an AD, first AD for over 25 years, and it's like, oh, you're the bad guy in the set, and you're the one that yells and screams and gets everybody. Well, I didn't do that, but it's like you're the one that gets everybody up working. And so it's like they're always trying to push your buttons and everything too. So it's just respect the rank. Ego, we talk about ego, is very important for this business. You need an ego because it's important for your survival. But ego is different than what I call misplaced ego or self-importance. And this makes business harder than it is used to. It's all those stories you hear about directors and actors and DPs and all these people that yell and scream and cause problems on set. And, this is not a statistical fact that I know. It's something that I say. But, I think 95%, and anybody acts out, and this goes right from kindergarten on up, I guess. When you act out, it's because you're insecure. This is my motto. 95% of the people that act out are insecure, yell or scream or rant or rave because they're nervous, they're insecure. The other 5% are mentally unstable, and there's probably nothing you can do about it. But you have to understand that difference between ego and self-importance. All right, and there's so many people in this business that I've run into that this self-importance just causes a nightmare for, when you're doing movies for a 3-month shoot, and you're working with people that are just, like, you just don't want to be anywhere near them. It's a long, constant struggle. Now, a given, yes, that in 3 months you're done. I know there are people that work in a large corporation and they have a boss and they have to work there for 10 years. That's a whole different story, and I understand that. But still, it's just so unnecessary.
Right.
I always look at the movie Happy Gilmore that I was the AD on, and I call it my 100% movie. There was not one person in front of the camera or behind the camera that was obnoxious. We all were there to have a fun time, and it showed on screen, and we had a blast. Everybody just wanted to go to work every day. Mm-hmm. And that's what I call the 100%. I've had other films that are close to that. I've had other films that are totally opposite that. But it's like when you get those kind of films, it's just a joy to work. You're still working the 12, 14-hour days. It's still hard work. It's still demanding. There's still tempers that flare because you're in a creative environment. But it's like it's just a moment thing, and then it's over and done with. And that's important.
Right. That's it. Yeah, that is important. Being able to overcome the hurdles that come along and still work together with respect, with harmony.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that. Well, absolutely, that leads, to like have a sense of humor. Like that's the one thing I think of reason that I've survived so long in the business is I've learned to laugh at myself, and I didn't take all that. I take my job seriously, but I didn't take myself seriously, and I laugh at myself and have a sense of humor and laughing is just that good thing when things are tense that people let out. And film crews are known around the world to have really good sense of humors or sense of humors. And you got to be able to throw stuff around. It's just so tense sometimes. And listen for the truth. I think it's important, and not just for actors, but for everything. You just want to listen. But again, I'm repeating myself on passion, but you have to have this passion, and some days it's probably the only thing that'll keep you going. Isn't
that the truth? In this business where you're literally living out and breathing and surviving on dreams.
Yes.
You really do have to have that passion. And when, you've mentioned it yourself, the, success rate is very small. It's probably very similar in a lot of ways to being a professional athlete. People always say the deck is stacked against you, and that's why the parents have that conversation of, oh, why not be a lawyer or a doctor instead? But, yeah, you need that passion to carry you through, to get you up in the morning.
And I think especially if your parents never had anything to do with your business, then they are picking up from third-hand information, right, from what they feel is happening or what they see. Artists, actors, painters, starving artists living in never having a full-time job. Of course, and that's pretty well true. But if if you've grown up in the business, that's one thing. I mean, I had to start from scratch with my parents had nothing to do with the business, so I learned everything myself. But I have two kids, one's 28 and one's 25, and Megan wants to be an actor, and Andrew's dabbled in the film business, but they grew up on the movie sets. I mean, they were babies when they grew up on the sets, and they were extras in movies. I had them working on movies. I mean, they grew up. They understand the process. They're all doing other things right now. But the thing is, if they understand the ups and the downs of the business, and if you want to get in, we'll have it's who we'll help you out. Mm-hmm. But they know that, but they've seen it all in that sense, and that's their education. So film kids, and some of my best stories are involving my kids on sets, and they have that opportunity. So I think
that knowledge and those connections give you the confidence that in much the same way as passion. When you convey passion and confidence, it's contagious, and other people then believe in you, which leads to more relationships, more successful relationships, and then you kind of get that wheel turning.
Absolutely, and it is. And the confidence you have in yourself, I mean, this is part of growing up, isn't it? And that it's the education you're learning, the confidence you have in yourself. And even if inside you're kind of all tense and nervous a little bit, you gotta show the confidence on the outside. It's that leadership quality, if you will. And all of these roles, a key grip, a gaffer, these are all leaders in the business, right? We're not talking directors and ADs here and DPs. Any department head, anybody that's in that, you have to have a certain confidence, but you have to also can't be stupid about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see how we're doing on time. It looks like we have a little bit of time to talk about the differences between film and TV. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Now, you've done both. How are they different?
Well, there is a pretty big difference. I mean, I'll just go over things. I know we're running out of time now, but I'll just sort of go over things fairly quickly here. But, the differences between film and TV are like networks and studios or small screen and large screen. That's pretty obvious. And some of the similarities are really, they all need time and money. They all need scripts, and they all need actors. But the key point I want to make here, and this is something that people can write down or really understand, because this is something that when I learned this, I said, I wish I learned this 10 years before. It would save me a lot of grief. Is television is a producer's medium, and it features a director's medium. And this is probably the biggest advantage to survive in the film and TV industry. And when I'm talking, because in television, it's a producer's show. It's the writer/producer. They're in charge. They're the boss. And in a feature, it's really the director. And if you know that, then I think that's a really important factor to know. So features, I mean, everybody wants to do big movies. That's kind of, we want to sit in a big theater and look back and see the big screen and see our name in the credits at the end, or hopefully in the beginning. And it's the big picture, right? Mm-hmm. And these elements that I've written down here on your slides are whatever I've experienced. All of this comes from all the things that I've experienced. So it's like, you can do 1 setup a day to 30 setups a day, or half a page to 5 pages. very few location moves. I mean, 30, 20 to 100 to 200 shooting day. Who knows? I mean, it's no limit now. The only limit is money on a feature film, how many days of shooting you have.
Mm-hmm.
And director's prep can be, you know, normally could be 8 to 14 weeks, or it could be a year. I mean, again, these are guidelines. I mean, it's sort of a wide open, it's like a wild west out there right now. I mean, with the internet at full force now in the last 5 years, and all these huge movies that are now beginning to happen, it's like trying to keep up, you know. But in an overall concept, when I talk film or television, I'm not talking these mega budgets. I don't know if everybody understands. I'm talking, you know, you could do anywhere from your own movies to $15, $20 million movies, but you know, even 40, 50, $60 million movies, still all the same principles apply. It's all relative, right? Mm-hmm. Television, you know, we call it the sausage factory. You know, you put something in, you just keep churning it out. It just feels like that. It's, you know, you do 40 setups a day sometimes, 6 to 12 pages. I mean, you just don't have time. And you know, I think I was on a TV show once where we had 4 locations, which means we moved 3 times. So, you know, you start at one and then you move 3 times. So when you're moving, you're not shooting. So that's always a problem. And the shooting time is just different for each one, but you can just, you know, you can really tell. So between, I guess the physics of television and film are very different. You're still trying to turn out a TV movie or the same amount of time, but the psychology is different. The politics are different. And as a tip, I would like to say that people should understand that there's this whole thing about the page count. Well, it's the page count. How many pages are you shooting a day? It's not the page count. It's the setups. And I think hopefully everybody understands the camera setup is you do a shot here and it's a wide shot. Then you change the lens, you do a close-up. Well, that's 2 setups. I think all your people would know that. Is it 10 setups or 20 setups you're doing? It's not the page count. I mean, you can have, you know, a 2-page action scene will take 2 or 3 days to shoot, and a 5-page dialogue scene can take half a day or a day to shoot. So it's not the page count. People keep harping on that all the time. I mean, yes, that's a guide. How many pages are you shooting? Because it's like physics, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you have to divide things up. But I think when you understand these differences, it will help you out because it'll help you, you know, because of the politics. And I think that's important.
Yeah, and you know, I think that a lot of emerging directors, especially if they're transitioning from maybe just a few locations to, you know, a larger picture or more complicated script, they may not realize how time-consuming the setup can be, or if you're going from using more natural lighting to more complex lighting, how long it can really take to set up and position, and then, you know, translating that to how you deal with and you schedule your actors. So that is a really good point and a really good distinction that I think gets overlooked early on in the career.
Yeah, and I think that one of the benefits I had is going into the AD department is I had to schedule all that. So I had to learn, mm-hmm. you know, I mean, literally the AD's job, the first AD job is what are we shooting on day 1 and how long is it going to take to shoot? And boy, you need some experience to figure that out. You just can't read that in a book. So all of that stuff is on set, is how you get that experience and mentoring and learning and going through all of that. Because is it an action scene? Is it 2 people in a room? Whatever it is, it's really heavy that way too. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, we have so much ground that we could still cover, but you know, we're kind of pressed for time. So I think it's a good time to transition, and let's see if we can jump over here and talk just a little bit about breaking down the script and scenes. Let me see if I can get over there and pull some of that up really quickly. Okay, practical breakdown of scripts and scenes.
Okay.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think there's a lot of different kinds of scenes to talk about. So I've sort of said there are like groups of scenes, and you don't really sit down and say, okay, these are dialogue scenes or action scenes. But what I've looked at are, look at these. There's like 4 kinds really. There's dialogue scenes, right? So these are scenes where people sit around and they talk, okay? And obviously, these scenes are, you can shoot faster than, than other scenes. Then there's a second group where I've sort of put action, special effects, or visual effects scenes. These are scenes that are going to require more shooting time than dialogue scenes. So this alludes back to what you were saying we were just talking about. So how long is it going to take to shoot something, right? So between dialogue scenes and action or special effects scenes or visual effects scenes, obviously dialogue technically will be faster to shoot. And so these are how you sort of weigh them out. I've also talked about key scenes, where there's scenes, and they could be dialogue or action scenes. They're kind of regular scenes to shoot, but they kind of set the mood of a story, and they require more time than, say, your regular scenes. For example, scenes in Act 1 or Act break scenes, those kind of things are scenes that contain story points. That may be slightly elusive, but it's those are ideas. And then in television, in commercial television, you have this fourth one called Act break. So really, there's like an hour of television, you have like 4 act breaks roughly, or 5, and it's like when you get to the page, it'll say end of Act 1, and so that scene is important because you need to know as a director that you need to make sure you get the story points in there. You want to make sure that all the dialogue is heard, or whatever is important in that scene, because the scene is important because why? They want the people to come back after the commercial.
Exactly.
So that's a pretty important scene. So as a TV commercial director, that's one of your top scenes that you really want to spend some time on and make sure it's all there.
You see this in play a lot, and they use editing oftentimes to convey this, but with reality, which is the big craze now. I've noticed that a lot in the hooks.
Yes.
Get them coming back after that commercial break. So that's a really good...
Well, I mean, the soap operas kind of had this, and the reason they call it soap operas is because they used to go sell soap, right after. And we all, even on the soap operas today, that the act break will be somebody walks in the room and catches somebody or says something, I just saw you with Martha, and they cut to them, and then the camera dollies into the person, and the music swells up, and you go to a commercial, right? That's like very typical. They still even do it today. So that's very dramatic and over the top now, but it's like those are those act break scenes. Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of this is just technical. People have this on I won't sort of go over this too much here right now, but your script pages, these are just average pages for half-hour, 1-hour television scenes. I don't know if you have that on your breakdown there, Mariah. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can show everybody that. Mm-hmm. So script pages, script act breaks, people can have a look at that. Oh, there it is right there, okay. And essentially all the way down from the sequence, these are all your ideas of it, like the teaser, the tag, the chase sequence, the love scene. These are sequences are made up of a group of scenes. So you're doing this sequence right now, and it could take a week to shoot, or it could involve 20 scenes. And then the scene and down the shot and right to the take, and that's literally the last thing. It's like take one, scene one, take one, and you're on the move. So there you go. So hopefully that answered the question. I know we're running out of time here, but I think that sort of give an overview of that.
Yeah. So obviously we have limited time on the webinar, but clearly, Peter, we've just scratched the surface. And I'm really excited about partnering with you to bring even more valuable insight that will help viewers accelerate filmmaking career. And to those of you who are watching, that's really what we've taken this time out to do. So now imagine being able to leverage 40 years of experience in film and TV in a matter of weeks. This is really what having someone like Peter share this information with us allows us to do. Now, for those of you who are watching, how would you like to be a successful filmmaker, avoiding the pitfalls, the political mistakes that can literally kill your career because you don't have that wisdom that Peter has under your belt? One of the things I appreciate about being the baby of 8 is that I've learned a lot from the mistakes that my siblings have made. And I won't go into detail about what those are, but you can imagine from relationships, just life choices. I feel like it's better to learn from the mistakes from others than to make your own. So imagine being able to benefit from that. Peter offers an awesome personal coaching and mentorship program, and he's offering amazing rates as well. He's told me that he will offer exclusive rates for his coaching sessions to a select group of filmmakers who complete this 10-hour training seminar, which I want to talk about a little bit now. I'm excited to share this seminar that Peter has created with some amazing VIPs in his circle, and this seminar is called The Art and Craft of the Director. So just to tell you a little bit more about this, it's going to bless your socks off, and I hope that you're ready for that. I mean, who doesn't want their socks blessed off, right? So one of the things I know that prevents people from succeeding as a film director is lack of knowledge. And many people don't follow their dreams of filmmaking because they can't access that knowledge without paying tens of thousands of dollars or going into debt for film school. And like literally just some of the things that you've talked about today, Peter, I mean, I see emerging directors make these mistakes. And I mean, just hearing your wisdom, I think could take them so much further, so much faster, and save them so much time, money, and heartache, save them relationships that they should be building as well. So let's talk more about the art and craft of the director and how filmmakers can benefit from the information it contains. I'm sure that you can see here. Let's just look at what this seminar entails. There's 26 MP3 audio files. So each daily audio seminar is divided into 2 or 3 audio files. Can you explain how that is broken down, Peter?
Well, it's like a 10-part course, and so I've got a lot of information. It's a 238-page PDF book they can get with about 1,500 links, and I've recorded audio for every day, and each one's divided into either 2 or 3 audio files, and it's all downloaded off my website, so it's all secure, that kind of thing.
Awesome. So, that's great because for me, I like to listen to files on my computer. Sometimes people like to listen to them on their iPod when they're working out. Some people like to listen to files on their car, audio in their car when they're commuting. So that's really great that the benefit of this is that you can take it wherever you want to listen to it. So that's really cool. So there's 26 MP3 audio files in this seminar. There's also 2 audio interviews with industry professionals. And could you tell us a little bit about these 2 professionals?
Well, Mike Adams is a writer, consultant. He's done a lot of. He said he's written 23 feature films. With the first 20 were crap. So he's really learning the art and craft. He's had a feature produced in Los Angeles already, and he's a consultant, and he's also a good friend of mine. And Trilby Jeeves is actually my partner, and she's a writer, director, performer, and she's done a lot of theater, some film acting, theater, and she teaches acting as well. And she's got a good sense about her from the actor-director relationship, and it's really good.
Awesome. Okay, and so then next here we have over 100 links to online videos. Now this is amazing because I think that there's not only the educational value here, but there's also the time value of having these videos in one repository. So what you have here is an animated version of the film industry's history, and it's very important to know film history. We didn't talk much about that, but it's definitely important. An interview with director Ingmar Bergman, location scouting techniques. That's very key and crucial. I think people underestimate the importance of locations. An actual script read-through, camera angles and shots, and we talked about that too. Really, it can show the mark between an amateur and a professional. The hero's journey in film, and we didn't go into script analysis this time, but we certainly can go into that next time. Hero's journey is critical. It's what everybody relates to in life because we're all on our own hero's journey, right? Filmmaking techniques, fast and slow cutting techniques goes into editing. Blocking a scene, and we touched on that, but I think that is, really important, especially when you're dealing with actors. I know a lot of times actors that come from a theater background have a hard time transitioning into film because of this, and because the blocking is different and very unique. So delving more into that, the 180 rule, which again, if you break this rule, it's hands down, everybody knows that filmmakers, professionals, and audience alike will know that you're an amateur if you break this rule. So again, going into the history of filmmaking, how to make it in Hollywood, and more on that, history of television, the 3-act structure, which deals with story, and go back into detail about the Kuleshov experiment and how that really comes into play. And again, that was very illuminating to me, and I was using it and didn't even know it. So those are some of the videos that are in the seminar. There's also a comprehensive list of links to industry resources, everything from jobs and pay rates to key dramatic situations that every director should know. Very useful to have. The business, understanding filmmaking, learning more about the history of cinema. Jobs, jobs, jobs. I mean, that is, who doesn't need jobs right now? I see an upturn in the industry. I think this is a really great time to get this knowledge under your belt and be prepared to take advantage of the new tide that's coming. What makes a director, how to get free film scripts and screenplays, dramatic situations, DJ rates, so you know like what you can expect to earn as you transition in your career, and there's definitely a hierarchy there. Who the studios are, who the players are, who the production companies are. And this is important not only in terms of getting a job, but partnering with people. This is very important for those who are coming in on the reality show side. If you have a concept and you have to partner with someone who has a network deal or a studio deal. So knowing who those players are that have relationships with the studios, screenwriting and script resources, budgeting, that's key. And you can't budget if you don't know how to schedule. And so you definitely want to learn about that. Acting resources, how to rehearse your actors, critical there. Again, you know that you're watching an amateur film when the actors sound like they're acting. So how to write characters using conflict and backstory, all great links that Peter has compiled for you. And how much is your time worth? I mean, I'm sure you can see the value in what he has put together in this seminar. And again, this is all hosted within this 238-page PDF book, and it's really an amazing resource. I mean, I would just keep it handy on the desktop as a filmmaker. I love it personally, being able to just go in there and access all these things that we've gone over. He's also created handouts that go over, the different seminars, the video content, links to all the film resources and reference websites, the video references for playback. It's all just neatly, compartmentalized into this PDF book, so I think that's awesome. So clearly, I'm sure you can see the value here. You can see how this can easily be worth thousands of dollars. Ask anyone who's gone to film school. And it can also arm you with the knowledge that you need to make that movie that you have on your desk, that movie that you have in your mind, that passion project. And wouldn't you agree that, say, if this was like $100, wouldn't that be an absolute steal? I mean, I don't even want to talk about how much money I have invested in film school or, my friends and associates. It's just, we don't even want to go there. But truly, $100 would be an absolute steal, right? And that's what I've been telling Peter. But I've spent quite a bit of time with him, as he mentioned early on, putting together this webinar. And honestly, I can say he's a nice guy. He wants to get this into the hands of as many filmmakers as he can. And so there's no excuses, right, Peter?
That's right, no excuses.
Yes. So he has made the art and craft of the film director available for $67. And I think that is really incredible, right? Isn't that incredible? But what's even going to bless your socks off even more is that he's given me permission to offer the whole program for only $47 for those who see this webinar. Now, let me tell you, 47 is a significant number to me. My mom was born in 1947. My dad was 47 when I was born. Again, I'm the baby of 8. That number always carries spiritual significance to me, so I think it's significant that he's allowing me to share it with you for only $47. I mean, you can't even find a textbook for $47, let alone a program as extensive as this, and all bundled in a way that makes it easy for you to use with modern technology. So what I'd like you to do, go ahead and go to the link that's on the page now, download the seminar, and I'll tell you something that's really cool. When you share this with your social network, you automatically get a 10% discount. So that's an extra $470 off an already great price. And there goes $470 again, right? So isn't that cool? And, I've heard it said that that your success depends on how you help others to succeed. So, I mean, if you're a filmmaker, you need to be surrounded by other filmmakers to succeed. So share this with your social network. It's good for them, good for you, good for us. It's win-win. So make sure to go to that link for the Art and Craft of the Director now so you can get that process going. And don't wait, because you don't want to get distracted and you don't want to miss it. In the meantime, I just want to reiterate that as soon as you click on that link and you purchase the Art and Craft of the Film Director, you will have instant access to the 238-page PDF book. It's all automatic there. You don't have to wait. It's going to go, you'll be able to download it right away. So inside that ebook, remember, you're going to find the links to all the 10 daily audio seminar files in MP3 format because we know that you may want to listen to it on your iPad or on your computer or burn them to CD and listen to them in your car on your CD player. You'll also get the detailed course materials for each day's audio seminar so you can easily follow along with the audio and have a quick reference to go back to as a refresher. You'll also get links to all the handouts and easy-to-read PDF files. Plus, you get all of the film resources and reference websites in one handy-dandy location. So, lovely. And because we know that you don't want to have to log into a website every time you need to watch a video, you'll have all the links to all the videos right there in that ebook. You'll have links to all the video references right there for playback. And Peter even included links to all of the book recommendations he makes to his favorite students and proteges. So, now I told you Peter was going to bless your socks off, but let me tell you, I don't know if it's because Canada is a little closer to Santa's workshop. I don't know if it's a holiday spirit, but Peter decided to be uber generous and include extra bonuses. So when you download the seminar, here are the extras that you get. He's given 9 special bonuses, which include the yearly upgrades to this online seminar, a free 30-minute consultation with Peter, which is like, I mean, that makes this whole thing free basically because how valuable is that? A free script review with consultant Michael Adams. Again, it's paying for itself multiple times over. How rare is that? This is really about developing relationships, developing that mentorship. So this is a really golden opportunity. He's also adding $100 off his filmmaking workshops. I mentioned earlier that he does coaching. He also does filmmaking workshops all over the world. He does them in partnership with Raindance. He's throwing in a 30-minute audio interview with a young filmmaker and the transcript for that. The Modern Movie Making Movement, which is a 100-page bonus. Wow. The official 65-step Make Your Movie Now checklist and 24 bonus PDF reports. And that's a total of 132 pages. So, wow. The bonus articles. Michael Adams' article, I've written my script, now what? That's a question I get all the time, and again, that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this webinar, because I get inundated with questions from people who have a screenplay or want to write a screenplay, or, you know, and they don't know what to do with it, or, you know, they've made a movie before they've got it sold, before they have distribution, and I want to be able to provide this information to people in a way that I just can't do myself. I can't answer every question. I can't interact with every person, but, you know, this seminar and these resources that Peter has put together, you know, allow me to reach more people with this information that they need to take the next step. So there's that. There's a speech, what makes a director, the 7-step film directing formula, the actor's language, tools to use when working with actors. So critical. Actors are sensitive. Peter mentioned that they are very vulnerable when they're in character, and it's important that you communicate with them in a way that really, you know, nurtures their talent, makes them feel safe, makes them trust you. So that's amazing. How to work and survive in the film and TV industry. And, of course, you know, you need every tip, trick, secret, insider information you can get on that, because it's not an easy business. But, you know, once you get in and you develop those relationships and you know this information that Peter is sharing with you, you just really have an edge in making it. So those are all included when you download the PDF. Now, I'm also, when you download the art and craft of the director, I'm going to send you a PDF of today's presentation, and I'll even include some of the slides that we didn't get to go over on today's presentation, just as my own little way of saying thank you for participating. And so make sure you go and you go to the link and you download it if you haven't already. Now, I'd like to transition into a few testimonials just to demonstrate how powerful Peter's program is and how it's launched careers of film directors all over the world. So pay attention to that. Look at this here from Luke White, Gravesend, United Kingdom. I was co-directing a music video on the weekend, and a lot of advice from your seminar stuck in my head and helped me through the 2 days. Just wanted to say thank you, and that your audio seminar definitely helped a lot, especially the info about director prep and how to work with people. Okay, this is from the UK. This is Julian Grant from Toronto, Canada. Great resources and extremely well done. As a working film professional, I am constantly learning more about my craft and honing my skills. Your dedication and work is to be congratulated. So this is someone who is a working professional, and he is honing his craft through this material that Peter has put together. Now this one is out of the good old USA. I definitely thought this course was worthwhile and informative. It helped to flesh out some of my own vague ideas about the industry, about how the industry of film worked, and it helped me to reconceptualize many misconceptions I had about the industry and politics of the business. While the course alone was worth every penny and minute, the website attachments and ideas for books were an added bonus that provided me with every opportunity to continue to learn the valuable ins and outs of the business. Thanks again. Okay, India, check this out. Again, impacting people around the world. Hello, Bollywood. I have listened to the audio files and found the information to be confidence-boosting and extremely informative. I strongly recommend it to filmmakers of any level, especially the amateurs, to purchase this course because it's worth a full-time film school. Peter, thanks for your contribution to the budding filmmakers. I will be the first person to invest in your forthcoming courses. Awesome. And this one out of, Pete Castellano, Assistant Dean of Finance, College of Social and Behavioral Sciences at the University of Arizona. He says, just order the course, great price, hello, yes. I like what you said about passion and truth. This is the crux of the whole thing, and it's what sold me more than anything about buying this course. Without those two qualities, one might as well sweep floors or do any other job for that matter. And the last one from Sydney, Australia. It was very informative, and I enjoyed the odd time out from my usual routine to sit in front of the computer and get away to a place of infinite discovery. How true is that? So with that said, we've gone over time, and unfortunately it's coming to a close. If there's any questions out there, I'm going to give 10 seconds to start typing questions so we can get those answered before we have to jump off. Is there any questions that any of you have, just burning questions that you want to ask now? Now is the time to type them into the chat box there. If you haven't discovered the chat box, there should be like a little square plus box that you can check and type in any questions that you have. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions coming in, so for the sake of time, I've really enjoyed this webinar with you today, Peter, and I want to thank you for joining us and sharing your wisdom. Now, I know you've made an incredible impact on countless filmmakers, and you stand behind your product with a guarantee also. Can you tell us about that?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You have extended a guarantee.
Yes. Yes, what I have is a 100% money-back guarantee, 1 year. So I believe in this content so much that I give a 1 year guarantee. So once they get it, they have 1 year. If they don't like it, they can return it. No questions asked. So I don't think anybody will, but it's there if they need it.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's the icing on the cake. Actually, it might be the sprinkles. Maybe the candles.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So again, thank you, Peter. Thank you for those who joined us today. I want to invite you to keep in touch. I see some questions coming in, and I'm looking up at the clock. It's 1:46 now, so we've gone like a full 16 minutes over, and I want to thank you guys for staying with us. I see these questions. So I'm going to follow up, and you can reply to the follow-up with the PDF. And that will have my email address in there. I will also post this webinar on YouTube. Yes, there will be a replay for those of you who joined in late or couldn't catch the whole thing or didn't take notes, naughty. So I'll make sure to post this webinar, and I'd love to see your movies that you've made as video responses. So do keep in touch. We want you to keep in touch. And, again, there'll be a follow-up to this that will have the replay, and it will have the links that you need to get in touch with us. Peter has a tremendous website. I'll make sure that you have access to that and that you can subscribe to his e-zine, which I'm also a subscriber of. So with that said, I just want to, again, thank everyone who joined us. Thank you again, Peter. I have had a wonderful time with you, and I really look forward to doing this in the future with you.
You're welcome, Mariah. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.